Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I'm a bit, I feel a bit flushed and pink of cheek. I've been running around like a maniac all morning. It's a beautifully bright day again. It's the sort of day when I think, I should be outside. But you know what? I'm really enjoying my at-home time at the moment, catching up on myriad jobs, as you know from the last few videos. It just feels really good to be getting on with all these things. And yeah, there are still a few jobs to be done in the garden, but you know what? They can wait. My mind is so focused on this indoor stuff at the moment. So today's the day to start clutter busting. Before we get into it, question: are you a hoarder or are you a minimalist? Or probably like the vast majority of the population, you're somewhere in the middle. If we've got the minimalists over here, the hoarders over here, I reckon most of you are in the middle or possibly nudging towards the hoarder side. I think I nudge towards the minimalist side. I'm just going to say from the outset that in terms of hoarding, I'm not going to go anywhere near that subject of hoarding that involves, great mountains and mountains of newspapers right to the ceiling, bottles of urine under the bed because the bathroom is no longer functioning because there's too much of a hoard in there, decaying food. You get the idea. I'm not going to talk about that because it's a whole, that's going into illness and mental illness, and that needs professional help, not just in terms of clearers and organisers and biohazard teams, but in terms of psychotherapy, therapy, long-term therapy to support that individual going forward. So let's push that aside. And, I was just saying that I kind of verge towards minimalism, but everything, it's all degrees, isn't it? I say minimalism because I don't keep a lot of stuff. It may look like it because it's all in one room, but honestly, I don't have a lot of stuff. But I do have stuff, and I want to keep stuff because minimalism, it kind of scares me almost as much as hoarding. I've got a friend, it's a great example. Is there a beyond minimalism? She has nothing on her walls, no artwork. There's nothing on any surface. Everything is behind cupboards, and all the cupboards they don't even have knobs on the cupboard doors. I'm fine to talk about this because we know we both take the mickey out of each other, but her doors are all those where you kind of push them and they pop open. So when you look at it, it's like in the living room, there's just this bank of white, but it's all cupboards. Kitchen is the same, it's just all this bank of white, and you press it and it's like, oh, there's a cupboard in there, or oh, there's an oven in there, whatever, that sort of thing. And I remember when she was pregnant with her first child, I was just thinking, I didn't say anything, but I was thinking, I don't think you're going to be able to keep it like this once you've got kids. Yeah, there's a bit more stuff around in her place at the moment. So yeah, that's not my style, and that's not what I'm hoping to achieve in the next few weeks. I just find, and this is personal taste only, but that minimalism, I find it cold, frankly. It's not very homely, you feel like you're sort of, I don't know, in a museum or something. I don't mean a dinosaur museum, I mean like a museum of modern art or architecture or something where everything's echoing, and you go into that space and you have no idea about the person who lives there. I like to think that anyone coming into my home will, looking around, they'll think, yeah, we've got an idea about the person who lives here, but by the same token, coming into my home, they don't feel overwhelmed by my stuff. I'm just picturing in my head suddenly someone who's got like, I don't know, 500 dolls in the dining room. Apologies if that's what you have. There's no judgment intended, it's just not my taste. So, yeah, I was thinking in particular when thinking about this subject that there's a lot of folk my age, I know a lot of you are my age or just a bit younger or just a bit older, and this is a really finely balanced time in life, isn't it? Because the chances are, you know, if you've had a family, if you've had kids, that the kids have now gone off to university. But the chances are your home is still absolutely full with your kids' stuff. And equally, the chances are, you know, fairly recently, your grandparents have died. Or heaven forbid, your parents. And, you know, obviously I've just had first-hand experience of this with Auntie Teapot dying, but it feels awful to get rid of their stuff. It feels like we're throwing them away. We're throwing their life away like it didn't matter. So we keep it all. So I think there are probably millions of homes all over Europe, North America, Australia, wherever, that are of folk my age where there's a spare room stuffed full of grandparent stuff or parent stuff. There's another spare room full of your kids' stuff, and you're squeezed into one room. So yeah, it might be time to start thinking about going through things and asking yourself if you really need to hang on to them. I was thinking about this as well, in the last few years, and maybe it is as a consequence of sort of dealing with Dad's stuff, dealing with Teapot stuff. Even when, I remember when my grandma moved in with my aunt and uncle, and then eventually she needed to go into a nursing home because she needed more care than they could provide. And there were a few, you know, sort of bits and pieces of my grandma's, like her bedroom furniture. I couldn't bear the idea of them disappearing from the family because they were such distinct pieces. And I know that my grandma and granddad, well, my granddad would have worked really hard to earn the money, and my grandma would have worked really hard to, you know, do all her own sewing and veg growing and all that, to have their really, really frugal life, to be able to afford this bedroom suite that they bought in I think it was just after the war. Anyway, it was really distinct furniture, and I completely associated it with my grandparents' bedroom and times of getting into bed with them and cuddling with them. And I couldn't bear it going, but it was like, well, what am I going to do with it? I can't have a big bedroom suite in this flat. It wouldn't fit. But we all the grandkids, we all did have at least one treasure to keep. So, yeah, having dealt with quite a few clearances of households, what I found over time is that I'm less and less inclined to keep stuff. I'm much happier these days about letting stuff go because, you know, after all those deaths, and I don't mean this in a morbid way, you know, but yeah, people die. Once they're gone, and then there's this house full of stuff to deal with. I don't mean that in a negative way, as in, oh, no, I've got to deal with all this stuff. I just mean they don't take it with them. That's what I'm trying to say. None of us can take it with us, can we? So I'd rather disseminate stuff now. I'd rather live with less stuff, live more simply, less stuff to clean, less stuff to dust and polish, etc., etc. And I think so much stuff that we have, we think we're attached to it, but when we really question ourselves deep down, you know, I'm going to talk about it with, and we're starting with, well, I'll tell you in a second, but I've got a book that I'm going to get rid of. It was given to me when I was 14 by my best friend at the time. It's so not my kind of thing anymore. By getting rid of the book, it doesn't matter because I'll still have all those memories, but we're coming on to that in a second. So what I would say about all this cluttering and clearing, and I'm just going to call it clutter for now, even though some of it is treasure. Firstly, I don't want anyone to worry about me, that I'm going to go bonkers and just chuck out everything and then regret it. That's not my style. I am quite thoughtful about things, but I am able to make decisions quite quickly, normally. So I have, you know, even over the last 10 years, it's one of my favourite things to do on New Year's Eve, because I'm not a big party girl anymore. Used to be. I quite like on New Year's Eve putting a bit of music on, opening up a bottle of bubbles, and I start having a bit of a sort out. And I think, right, is there stuff I can get rid of? I'm just looking around now. Is there stuff I can get rid of? Is there stuff I can take to charity? Is there stuff I can sell? So I've been doing that every year for about the last 10 years anyway. And it feels like a really good start then to the new year. So I'll do my kind of creating a mess on New Year's Eve night, making piles, Then just into that first week of the new year, off I trot to the charity shops or put stuff on eBay. And then what I love is then I have a really deep clean of the whole flat. Great, it just feels like a really good way to start the new year. So I don't mind getting rid of stuff, I'm quite good at it. Please, I don't want any of you, like I said, I don't want any of you to worry that I'm going to be chucking stuff and then regretting it later. There's no point having regrets in life, is there? But what I would say is, now I love this, I cannot wait to get stuck in. Oh yeah. If you're the reverse and you dread it, it may be worth thinking about asking a friend for help. But you need to choose that friend carefully. I think you need to choose a friend don't choose a minimalist friend, because they'll just want you to get rid of everything, and they'll go too quickly, and they'll be chucking stuff and chucking stuff and chucking stuff, and you won't know what they've put in that box, and you'll go into panic. It'll be horrible. She'll get frustrated with you, and you'll get frustrated with her. You'll come to loggerheads. It won't work. So choose a friend who, you know, perhaps is in a similar situation as you are. If you're dealing with a load of stuff in the house that's come from a deceased relative, maybe don't ask a friend who's got a recently deceased relative either, because they'll probably be in the same headspace as you of wanting to just keep everything. But yeah, pick a friend who knows you well, who knows your history, knows your life story, so they know what moments of your life have been significant and therefore what treasures are significant. But pick a friend who's quite firm as well, a bit bossy, if that will help you. I don't need that because I'm quite bossy to myself. So, where to begin? Excuse me. It's hard to know where to begin, isn't it? But like Maria, I'm going to begin at the very beginning. I'm going to begin with ABC. I'm going to begin with my books. It's an obvious place for me to start because it's the one thing I own that I have quite a lot of. I'll just say very quickly, I won't be doing a declutter in the kitchen because there is no clutter in the kitchen. Literally everything in the kitchen is something I use. So even though I've got 4 or 5 large bowls, it might seem like, oh, you only need one. No, there are times in the year when they are all in use. Around harvest time, they're all in use. So yeah, I mean, I will have a quick squeeze, but it's not going to be like the rest of the flat because, like I said, the stuff in there, a lot of things I've got 1 or 2 of, they're in use. Sometimes they're not in use for months at a time. Other times of the year, they're in constant use. So I know that everything in the kitchen is to keep because it's to use. But yeah, back to the books. And I think if you're tackling this in your life too, maybe you've got that spare room that has become the dumping ground, because let's face it, you know, that can happen, can't it? And whatever reason you're doing your declutter for, it might be because you're downsizing, you know, moving to a smaller property, so you need less stuff. It may be just because the weight, the presence of all this stuff is weighing you down, and it's like a constant nag in the back of your mind. Instead of having that burden every day, start to release that burden. So for whatever reason you're doing it, I think for me, I think I'm going to be able to rattle through everything in sort of probably in about 3 days, maybe even less. If I wasn't filming, I could bust through all of this in a day. But take your time. It may be that you say to yourself, if the whole thing is really daunting, say the spare room, just sort of promise yourself, right, I'm going to tackle this over the course of the next month. So every Sunday, for example, if Sunday is a free day for you, every Sunday I'm going to go and do one wall in the room. 4 walls, 4 weekends. You might need a 5th weekend to do the middle. But yeah, set the task, set yourself the task, set yourself a bit of a time frame in which to do it. Basically stop putting it off. So I'm starting today with the books. What am I going to do? What's the time now? I've been chatting for quite a while already. So I'm going to do books and shoes. It's kind of easy because I've already started doing the books, and the shoes will be easy because I don't have a lot to start with. But with the books, it's like a flow chart, really. I'm giving myself 2 questions. The first question is, and I've done this for all the books on my shelf already, and I've got a few examples to show you here. The first question is, have I read it? So if the answer is no, that prompts 2 more questions. Will I read it? If I will read it, I keep it. Will I not read it? Get rid of it. So the perfect example of that is The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. It's a chunky monkey. I started to read it. I think I got as far as, I'm looking at where it slightly wants to fall open, I got as far as page 55 out of, how many pages? It's over 1,000 pages. I started that, I know when it was, because I know exactly which holiday it was. I was in Greece, and I always take a load of books in my backpack with me wherever I'm going, because I'm never without a book. And if I go on holiday for sort of 3 or 4 weeks, I'm cycling around, walking, what have you, 3 or 4 weeks, I need about 10 books. So this is from about 2000, 20 years ago. I love Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment is one of my all-time favourite novels. I just couldn't get on with Brothers Karamazov. Now, it might have been the wrong time whilst I was on holiday. So I did pick it up when I came back home. I picked it up and, kept going on. I just couldn't get on with it. So it went back on the shelf. So it's been on that shelf. It's moved house twice with me. It's been put into a box, packed, moved, taken out of a box and put back on the shelf twice. To me, that's a no-brainer. I haven't read it in 20 years. I'm not going to. I think my taste has changed as well. That's something else I'm going to talk about very specifically with another one. So, yeah. Have I read the book? No. Am I going to read it? Yes. Keep it. No, I'm never going to read it. You have to be honest with yourself as well. You have to be really honest. I'm never going to read it. Give it to someone else. Let someone else have a go. Another example like that is, okay, so that question was, have I read it? No. Am I going to read it? Yes, keep it. Am I going to read it? No, get rid of it. This is where it gets tricky. Have I read it? And the answer is yes. So, I've now split this into 4 answers. Have I read it? Yes. Is it a reference book? Now, if it's a reference book, the chances are I'm going to keep it. Because reference, by their very nature, we refer to them, we go back to them over and over again. So I've got my dictionary, I've got a dictionary of quotations, I've got my dictionary of phrase and fable, I've got my Hessian's veg growing book. Any other? But the thing about, we're struggling with light today again. The thing about reference books, of course, is now that we all have, well, not all, the majority of us have access to the internet. And it's so quick to look something up on the internet, so quick. So for a lot of our reference, we can use the internet. The reason I've kept my dictionaries is because they're my wonderful little rabbit holes I like to tumble down. So occasionally I'll look a word up, but then I end up looking another up and another, and I go down this glorious rabbit hole, learning new words, learning sort of the etymology, that sort of thing. So for me, they're a keeper. But a lot of other reference books, they're not keepers. A great example of that for me is my medical dictionary. Oh, what's inside it? Oh my goodness. I've just random notes. Tunica intima damaged. LDL gets into the walls. Macrophages go on the defence. Foam cells, fatty streaks. The other thing is, in getting rid of all my books, I will flick through them all to make sure I haven't left a love letter, some random notes, a tenner inside any of them. I'll go through them. But yeah, this is the kind of reference book it's going to go, because it's not part of my life anymore, although I've always been interested in anatomy and physiology and all things medical, but this is definitely something I can just look up online. I know, for instance, with my regular dictionary, I had that out probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. This, I don't think I've had out since I quit nursing. So it can go. So this is in the, have you read it? Yes. Is it a reference book that you need to keep? More likely than not, no. But there will be a few. Have you read it? Yes. Is it one that you're likely to reread? There are a few. So, for instance, you've heard me talking about braiding sweetgrass on a number of occasions. It was my absolute life changer book in, was it 2019? Was it from Sarah? So, my belly's rumbling again. And I have dipped in and out of it on a number of occasions. There are a few up there that I think, you know what, I probably would like to reread again at some point. You know, life's a bit too short for rereading books, isn't it? There's so many glorious books still to be read. But yeah, if you think, and it won't be many in your collection, but if you think you might reread it, then yeah, hang on to it for now. So still with the question, have you read it? Yes. Was it a special gift and therefore you want to keep it? So braiding sweetgrass was a gift. There are a number of things I've decided to keep. Not a lot at all, but that I will keep because they're really significant. They're very much part of my life as it is now. But this one, these are my examples, you see. Stevie Smith. This is one I was saying about that my BFF gave to me when I was 14. I mean, it's such depressing reading. We were definitely doing our teenage angst bit. It was so special and significant at the time. Back in those days, it cost $3.95. That's probably $12.99 now. Yeah, it was really special, really significant. We used to read the poems to each other. This is another book that has now had, I don't know how many house moves I've had in my life, because, 10 years, my first 10 years in London I was renting and moving quite a lot. It's probably had 20 house moves. No, 15, I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's had a lot of house moves. When I got to this flat, you know, it got unpacked and put up on that top shelf with my other bits of poetry. I haven't looked at this book probably in 30 years. Now, there's probably quite a few of you thinking, oh, you should keep it because it was a gift from your best friend, da, da, da. But what's the point? That's what I say to myself. What is the point of this when my best friend is in here, all these memories, just talking about her, thinking about her. I'm picturing all sorts of naughtiness that we got up to. I don't need a book to do that for me. I've got, because, you know, don't think I'm not at all sentimental or have no, you know, heart, no compassion. I've got a couple of little boxes which are my treasures boxes, and they're things which I'll never get rid of. They can go in the grave with me. And in there, I've got our little letters and postcards to each other. I've got a little, it's a little cardboard packet. It's tiny, only shallow. It was from some Parma violets. Oh, I love those sweeties. And inside it is tucked a note from her, basically saying sorry for something. I know I'm not going to talk about what it was that she's saying sorry for, but, you know, it didn't matter. We stayed friends, we were best friends. So I have that. So if ever I kind of have that thing of, oh, I just want to sort of sit and think about her and reconnect with her or whatever, I just go to my little box of treasures and read some of her letters and postcards again. I've never, ever picked this up off the shelf in order to do that. So why am I hanging on to it? And I know why. I know why I've hung on to it for so long, but why I'm not going to this time. So the last time I considered, do I want to keep this, was nearly 20 years ago, 18 years ago when I moved in here. And at that time, you know, I was quite vulnerable, very early 30s, just gone through a breakup with a partner, really, really vulnerable. And things like this, and this is something I think you need to recognise as you're going through your stuff as well, just have an awareness. Am I clinging on to this for dear life because I'm trying to cling on to happy memories from the past because at the moment I'm in a really bad place? You know, this isn't going to make my life better by having it. My life has been made better. It was made better by my relationship, my friendship with her 35 years ago. Yeah, about that. That's what made me, part of what made me the person I am today, and the person who finds joy in most days, but also experiences intense emotional pain. Part of that person was made by my relationship with this friend. The book has nothing to do with it, so it can go. Does that sound harsh? But yeah, I think as you're going through your things, I think that's a really good question is, why have I held on to this for so long? When was the last time you looked at that object, like the book? Was it the last time you moved house? And if the last time you moved house and you looked at it and you were considering whether to keep or throw something, maybe the decision to keep it was based not on the past that you wanted to keep, but on your present, that you were trying to bring back some of the past. Just ask yourself. So, we've had three answers to the yes question. The yes question was, have you read it? Yes. Do you want to keep it because it's a reference book? Probably not. We've got Uncle Google, haven't we? Maybe a couple. Have you read it? Yes. Is it something you're going to reread? Ooh, yes. Keep. Have you read it? Yes. Was it a special gift? Yes. Do you really need to keep that special gift to remember someone? No. It can go because they're in here. And then that's kind of it really. Now with the ones that I'm saying, yeah, it can go, I'm then going to have two piles, one for charity and one for trying to sell. Not that there's any huge value I'm certainly not going to be a millionaire after doing this, but some of my stuff is quite niche. So I was thinking about all my mountaineering books. That's not going to happen this time around. That will happen once I move, because it's going to take more time. Because they're sort of specialist things, I won't be doing them on eBay, because they just won't, you know, I'll be lucky if I get 50p. And they're things which I would like to get £10 for, you know. So I either will sell them on a specialist site myself, or I will do some research and find a seller who specialises in mountaineering and see if they want to buy my whole collection. Brilliant. But otherwise, yeah, charity pile and an eBay pile. And then there are, sadly, oh my goodness, you see, these are other things, play texts, plays that I've been in or had something to do with. This one, Summerfolk, I wasn't in it, but I saw it at the National and I loved it. I've always liked Gorky as a writer too. Loved the play, bought the text so I could reread it. Typical me of that time. I've written a quote from the play on the inside cover. Striving not to be boring, not to gossip, to do something that has meaning. Great, what a great quote. But I'm never going to reread it. I remember that evening so well. I don't need that to prompt that memory. But, like I was just saying, there will be some stuff which isn't suitable for the charity shop or for selling. So I've got my script of when I was in Jean Brodie, playing Jean Brodie. I mean, it's an absolute mess of scrawl, my directional notes, motivational notes. I mean, it's an absolute mess. So that, it's only good for the recycling. So yeah, there's a bit of tape, because it fell apart in rehearsals, a bit of tape. I'll take the tape off and just separate all the paper, recycling. Also, I might see if the charity shop want it, but things like this, the BNF, which is the National Formulary, it's the Encyclopedia of Drugs. This is the paediatric version, but it's 2011, 2012. I think I'm going to put this in the recycling actually, or take it to the chemist to recycle, because, you know, drug information, it does go out of date. Doses can change, new drugs appear which supersede the ones that we have been using. Obviously, it's more notes of mine, I won't go through them. It's not part of my life anymore. It was mega useful. I used to have the old copies. I used to get old copies from my local pharmacy. I made friends with them because for like when I did my pharmacology exams, etc. But I'm never ever going to use this again, so it can go. But yeah, I'm going to take that to the chemist, because it's not the sort of thing. I don't think it should end up in the wrong hands. I don't know why I think that. I just think what I wouldn't want, for instance, I might be being paranoid about this. What I wouldn't want would be, say, a paranoid parent. I've forgotten what that syndrome is called when they project illness. It's gone out of my head completely. What's it called? It's not, I want to say Schadenfreude. It's not a Schadenfreude. It's not Hundertwasser. That's the Austrian artist. You'll know what I mean. By proxy. Something by proxy. Oh, how annoying that I can't think of that word. I'll think it the minute we stop filming. Anyway, what I wouldn't want is a lay person to get hold of it, start projecting, and then go to their doctor and start demanding this drug, that drug, and the other drug without actually understanding drugs. Yeah, that's a good point, Vivi. That's going to the chemist. The other thing I'm finding amongst my... Oh, look, it's my nursing and midwifery standards, code of standards. You see, oh, and that's my analgesia crib sheet. Oh, and that's from Great Ormond Street. So that was the hospital I worked at, Great Ormond Street. And this is our little pain ladder, you know, to... Anyway, that and my little NMC code of conduct, they're so little. And just going back, you know what, this is the other thing. How did I react a second ago when I picked that up? My reaction was, oh, it's my NMC. That still has meaning for me. By my reaction, I know it has meaning for me. And because they're so little, they take up no space. They can slip into my memory box. This is what I mean about, don't worry about me chucking stuff out that I'm going to regret. I'm not like that. And it is one of those things, you know, take time. Like I said, with all my books, I'm going to give them all a shaking with their pages to make sure there's not a special little note tucked inside, or hopefully a tenner. But the other thing I'm finding up there, I'm obsessed. Notebooks. Oh, I love this one because it's got nice little tabs. It's a nice chunky one. Never used, faded. Look how the cover is, that's where the elastic goes around to hold it closed. Look how much it's faded. And the elastic's gone all droopy. That's not going to hold your knickers up, is it? How long has it been up there? So the other thing I've done as I've gone through all my books is I've gathered together all my notebooks. Some of them have got 2 chapters of a book written inside them. Some of them have got 3 poems written inside them, you know, just all random. They're now all gathered together so I can see just how many notebooks I've got, and I can decide, right, that's it. Vivi, you do not need to ever buy another notebook in your life. Great. You see, that's the other thing, isn't it, about clutter is how many of you, be honest, hands up, how many of you have bought a duplicate of a thing you already have because you can't find the thing you already have? I mean, surely that's insane. If we have something at home and we can't find it because we've got so much clutter everywhere that we go out and buy it again, yeah, that's bonkers. I'm not having a go at any of you. I think that's probably quite common. So yeah, when you're having your declutter, you know, hopefully you'll find that missing thing. And then, pardon me, just bear with me a second. Sorry about that. It really is a dusty job. I dust my books once a year. Well, I mean thoroughly. What I do is with the Hoover attachment, with the little soft brush, I do hoover along the top edges because dust is, most dust, a lot of dust is dead skin cells. Skin is very slightly acidic and books don't go together, so yeah, they do get a thorough clean, but it's coming up for that annual clean, so hence it is really dusty. I had a point to make then, I've completely forgotten what it was. Ah, yes, that's it. I realise I've gone on one today, but that's because we're kind of introducing the whole subject today as well, so I'm not going to do the shoes. But one thing I think might be really helpful for you, and we were just saying a second ago about finding duplicates of things you already had, but you bought it again because you couldn't find the one you already had. If possible, I think this will help, and it has certainly helped with me with my books and say the notebooks, is try and do, when you're having your sort through, try and gather together everything that comes under that subject. So for example, when I do my shoes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them all out. I'm going to get them all out and put them on the floor in their pairs so I can see everything in one go and think, right, that really is too much, or however it is. With the books, it's kind of easy because I can see them all in one go. And I was really motivated to make an entire shelf free for shop stock so I didn't have to scrabble under the bed anymore. But yeah, maybe if it's shoes, handbags, yeah, maybe that can be where you start this weekend, shoes and handbags. Get them all out, get them absolutely all out. Once you've seen just how many bags you have, you can start to rationalise them and think, I really, you know the score. More of that in the next one. I think for the next one, let's see if, I think this one will have to be in 2 parts. Let me do wardrobe, shoes, bags, and then because I think I can rattle through that quite quickly. And then I'll follow that one separately with the trunk that's under the bed that's got, which are now becoming vintage clothes in. The ones that I'm just picturing what's in there now. It's things that I know I completely love and adore. Yeah, I'll do that as a second one, because there's also, I think, I'm thinking about what's in that trunk now. I think there's something in there that I really, really want to show, because it's just so darned cute and is not going anywhere. But more of that another day. Right, that's it for books. We're done, yay. So just to recap, ask yourself 2 questions. Have I read it? If the answer is, no, it's 1 question, isn't it? Have I read it? If the answer is no, ask yourself, honestly, am I going to read it? No, chuck it. Am I going to read it? Yes, keep it. Have I read it? Yes. Do I still need it? Reference books, whatever, out of date, Google. You don't need it, chuck it. Am I going to reread it? Yes, keep it. Is it sentimental? Yeah, it's really sentimental. I am going to keep it. Or, yes, it's sentimental, but I've got other things to remind me of that person, like her letters and postcards in my treasures box, so I don't need the book. Yeah, be ruthless. Be honest with yourself. Be really honest, and I think it's a good idea, as I just said, that if you're really struggling with one particular piece, try to get down to the bottom of why you're struggling so much with it. And that might be the perfect occasion to have a really good, trusted friend with you, maybe your partner, but to just, even if you get really stuck on one item, share with someone that you're stuck, and, put the kettle on, make a cup of tea, pour a glass of wine, whatever it is, sit with your friend and talk about it, talk about that thing. And hopefully through talking it out, you might get to the bottom of why you're struggling to let it go. And you might decide, actually, I can't let it go. I absolutely will not let it go. So you know what? You keep it. But you might also come to the end of that conversation and think, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to let it go. Take your time. But do it. I think that's the thing, isn't it, as well? Oh, I'm warbling on now. But yeah, just to finish, don't do this in a rush. Don't do it in anger. Don't do it in misery. Take your time with it. Try to stay calm. But do set yourself the goal. Do set that goal of, this is a task I want to complete by the end of such and such a date. Set yourself a time scale within which to do it, because if you don't, you're never going to do it. And another year will have gone by with that drawer in the kitchen still not sorted, the drawer. All right, lovelies, I hope that was interesting. I hope it was useful. I hope it was helpful, maybe, for some of you. We can do this. Let's do it together. But now, actually, I don't very often have a hot drink, but suddenly I do. I fancy a cup of peppermint tea because all this dust has gone crazy. So I will see you next time for some more flinging the dust around and some more clutter busting. Until then, take care of yourselves. And you know what? Have fun getting stuck in and get it off your to-do list. Get it done once and for all. You can do it. Cheerio.